Beautiful morning at Booter Park. Let's compare some planes.
Welcome to the shop. I have, I think, two of the best beginner trainer planes there are. And I think that because, these are my two go-tos if I'm going to teach somebody to fly. There's a lot of options out there about great beginner planes, but there's variables. For example, if you have $100 in your pocket and you can only fly from an elementary school playground, neither one of these is going to be best. You're going to have to look at a different option. However, depending on what environment you have and what you're looking for, one of these is going to be better than the other. And there's some variables there. And that's what I want to go into today. They're both really great planes, but depending on where you fly and what are some of your requirements, one is going to be better than the other. And I'm going to go into those details. So, hey, if you have a question, leave a comment. You like this kind of video, hit that like button. There will be links in the description below for both of these planes, as well as FMS discount codes to help save you a couple bucks. All right, let's get on with it.
Let's go over specs, features, and cool stuff that accompany these planes. Both of these are about the same size. Big planes, 1700 millimeter and 1800 millimeter. The wings detach easily and go together pretty quick as well, so it really doesn't take up much room. Overall weight in these planes also pretty similar. Keep in mind that the Piper is using a 2200 versus a 3000. They're both outfitted with decent lights. You got a little bit of a landing light, you got some navigation lights. Are they super bright? No, but in the low light conditions they sure do look cool. I really like the suspension on this Super Cub. However, I don't particularly care for these hard wheels because what it basically causes issues is on hard surface, being able to really control the plane. Bounces quite a bit and it doesn't really grip. The Ranger nose wheels and oleo strut, the mains are just wire. The tires are hard plastic, which is fine, but it sure makes a heck of a racket when it rains. Both have ample control surfaces, and both have flaps, which enable this plane to just cruise by super slow. Both of them, it's amazing at how slow you can get these things to fly. If comparing the motor and prop configuration, they're identical. Same parts, same everything. Now the Super Cub uses a 4S 2200-2700, whereas the Ranger has a lot more room. You could put a big battery in there, and I have. You can put in 3300s, but I've gone to 4000s, and it still flies okay. Field assembly for the Super Cub takes a few minutes. It's not a big process. There's no wires to route or anything. It all just kind of slides together, and then you have some thumb screws to attach. The struts do have this little brace that needs to click into the wings, and they do snap in place. Pulling them out can be a little frustrating. You got to be gentle with it. Then I have these thumb screws that hold everything together. The Ranger field assembly, pretty much the same. Slide in the carbon fiber spar and starts putting the wings on and basically locking everything down with the thumb screws. And then the wings struts have a little fancy clip that will clip onto that, go through the hole, and kind of retains it so it doesn't move. Flying off grass is where the Super Cub really, that's where it is, right? Huge tires, big suspension, tail dragger. The prop isn't digging into the grass, and it handles that without any issues at all. The Ranger in grass, yeah, it works, but it's not as good, right? The prop smashes into the grass, it stutters a little bit, but plenty of power to take off and go.
It's just...
So let me take you through a flight of the Super Cub. Now, this is a beginner plane, and I hate when I start out a video about a beginner plane and I'm doing aerobatics, because it just doesn't make sense to me. So I kind of screwed up the order on this flight. I was going to rearrange some things in the video, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do some aerobatics to show the plane is clearly very aerobatically capable. But then I'm then going to do a lot more slow flight, a lot more touch and goes, a lot more, action, a little bit, down low, and just show the slow flight capabilities from a beginner perspective. Of course, you've got the aerobatic stuff, which is cool, which in turn means that this plane can be your beginner plane where you learn the basics, but it can also take you to that next step and have a lot of fun learning basic aerobatics. Lots of examples of slow flight with this plane because it is just a floaty thing with full flaps. It's awesome. One of the key characteristics of a beginner plane is how slow can it fly. Landings are hard and difficult, and the slower you can get an airplane to fly, the better. And this plane flies incredibly slow. The difficult part with this plane, and you'll see it a couple times when landing on this runway, is the tires. They're just stiff. The suspension makes them bounce all over. Just makes it difficult on a hard surface. As I'm doing this slow flying and just kind of puttering around, I can do it with confidence, and that's the other part of this plane. It doesn't have some nasty stall characteristics that if you go too slow in a turn, it drops a wing on you. This plane doesn't do that. It's just super stable. It's very hard to get it to stall and cause an issue. And by the way, there is no gyro in this plane. Just flying with a basic 7-channel Lemon receiver. The rudder on this plane is very effective, and I really enjoy doing these hammerhead stall turns. It's just something it's so easy to do, and just do it back and forth across the runway. Kind of fun. This is where I just really enjoy this plane as well. It's just landing on grass, landing on gravel, or whatever it might be. It's just a lot easier. It handles it well. So it's purpose built, I think, for that kind of stuff. I think this is a very good beginner plane. However, if all you do is fly from a hard surface, concrete or asphalt runway, you're going to get very frustrated very quickly with this tail dragger. And that's the other part. It's a tail dragger, which creates a little bit more complexity on learning to fly. That's where tricycle gear planes are much easier from a ground handling perspective. But this is a good one.
Flaps up.
All right, let's take the Ranger up and kind of show her off. And we're going to do the same, right? We're going to show some basic slow flight. I think the slow flight characteristics and the plane not stalling is key for a beginner pilot, right? So you can get away with making some mistakes without your plane crashing into the ground. But I'll also go over some basic aerobatic stuff, just to also show that this plane, this Cessna, 172 or 150 or whatever it's supposed to look like, can do more than just putter around. So let's get into this. Now this plane has a Spectrum AR631, however the gyro is turned off. So I wanted to show a comparison, similar characteristics with no gyros. Just what do these big planes fly like without the gyro assistance?
Time remaining 5 minutes. Take off flaps. Flaps up.
At full speed, there was a little bit of a rattling going on, and I can assume that it is the plastic wheels, rims, kind of rattling a little bit, vibrating.
Take off flaps. Landing flaps.
Here coming in for a nice smooth landing, and those plastic wheels are a little rattly. This is where I think some Dubro foam light type tires would really quiet it down. The rudder on this Ranger is also very effective, as you see in some of the turns. I'm really jamming on that rudder to get her to, turn quite sharp, and she handles it fine. There is no risk of stalling. I mean, you got to work again. You got to work really hard at trying to get this thing to stall.
Take off flaps.
One of the most important features of a beginner plane, slow flight. And I tell you, this Ranger, especially with the flaps on, it just crawls. It's just fun. A lot of people comment, when I fly it like this, nice and easy and slow, how amazing it just flies at this slow pace that for a beginner, it's really easy to stay ahead of the plane. It's a really well designed beginner plane. For me, I could do this all day. Just go back and forth, especially with a day like this where there's no wind at all. I could just do touch and goes back and forth, back and forth. It's just very relaxing and just hones your skills.
I do.
Time remaining 3
These
minutes.
planes have the same power system, same motor, same prop, same everything. This Ranger with a larger battery weighs a little bit more. It's a little bit bigger, but it can still do all the basic stuff that I like to do. The Immelman, split S's, Cuban 8s. It'll knife edge. It flies inverted. It'll take you to that next level of having a larger plane, does aerobatics well.
Landing flaps. Take off flaps.
Now this Ranger with the large tires will take off and land on grass, just not as well. And now this runway that I'm about ready to land on here, this grass, isn't well manicured. It's bumpy, it's thick, it's just not ideal for this setup. But wanted to show that yes, this plane will handle that fine. It's just a little hard on that nose wheel and such, but it can do it.
Time remaining.
As I mentioned earlier in the video, during this process, it's the prop is digging into grass. It's kind of stalling a little bit as far as bottoming out the oleo strut, but it'll still do it.
Take off flaps. Flaps up. Landing flaps.
From a beginner standpoint, the bottom line is this plane flies slow. It's easy to assemble. It flies for a long time on battery. doesn't require a gyro. It's a simple, good flying airplane, and the size to me is one of the best things about it because I can see it well. It just, the way it handles the wind, it's all around just a fantastic plane. To summarize, both of these are very good, beginner planes. I do believe the Ranger is a better first plane. Now, with all of this, I do recommend if you're, you get some help, you get on a buddy box with an instructor and learn to fly. I think that if you are flying from a smooth runway, absolutely, the Ranger is it. The Super Cub tail dragger is just a little bit more complicated and will cause you a little frustration. I frankly think you should get both because the Ranger is your ideal, beginner plane, and then the Super Cub is an excellent second plane that will allow you to have some fun and something a little different. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Appreciate it. Take care. Have a great day.